Going to Ole Miss, going to Austin, where Texas is not playing Alabama. They're trying to not let Georgia get out of the gates. That quote from Alabama honk and former linebacker for the Tide, Roman Harper. His point, Matt DeBerry, is that the SEC schedule makers have made this a very challenging 2024 road season for the Dogs. He's saying they're trying not to let Georgia out of the gates. Your thoughts? Now, a lot of those games are not at the beginning of the season, so out of the gates is a good question for that terminology. But yeah, Georgia's got a tough road schedule compared to everybody else, for sure.
Yeah, going to Tuscaloosa, not going to be easy. Going to Lexington, I think people are just assuming Georgia's going to go up there and win convincingly, and that's a game they have to fight every time. It's not going to be in frigid, cold weather, so Dean will continue to rock those shorts. It'll be nice weather up there, but I still think Brock Vandergrift, maybe I'm crazy. I think he could be a good quarterback, probably not a great quarterback. We'll see what they can do with him, but I'm not saying that game's going to be easy. I think Georgia should win that game, but Tuscaloosa is going to be rocking. That fan base has this game circled. I'm excited to see the environment at night. It's going to be crazy. But no, Georgia didn't get any favors with the schedule this year, and that's okay. I mean, when you're on top, you're top dog. Bring it on, right, Ryan? I mean, we keep saying that this could be a possible dynasty in the making. I'm not disagreeing with you, but they should be able to go to Tuscaloosa in that crazy environment, especially with that new staff over there. There's no reason why Georgia can't go over there. It takes years to build a program with talent, top to bottom, and depth to beat a team like Georgia. And with all the transfers that came out, and I know they had some coming in, and they still have a lot of talent over there. I just think it might take a couple years for DeBoer and that staff to get it clicking the way they want to beat Georgia. So I do think Georgia should go over there and win. It's not going to be easy. Going to Texas is going to be another monster. We'll see what that crowd can do. But Lexington is going to be tough. Ole Miss, the place is going to be rocking. I mean, this is as good as it gets for Ole Miss going into a season. A lot of hype. Maybe it's too much hype, Ryan, but it's going to be a fun but definitely challenging season for the Dogs this year.
Yeah, it's like a band on tour. They're going to hit a bunch of the hot spots. If you took the G away and you put another logo there, I think that you'd look at this and it'd be a really, really scary season. But it's Georgia, and they're still projected to win and to have a Heisman winner and to be the SEC champion and do all this, even though this schedule is out in front of them. It goes to show you just how highly people are thinking of Georgia right now. But remember, this is going to get flipped in 2025, and they're going to be rewarded with having all of this at home. So I don't know that it looked like a little bit of a punishment at first when you look around at all the SEC schedules and you say, I don't think Texas had it that hard. I don't think that Alabama's schedule is as close to as challenging as Georgia this year. But then, it'll still be challenging with those types of programs at home. But then in 2025, it's all flipped, and then you get rewarded with that. So I think it balances out. But this has an opportunity to be the most memorable season, just in terms of just a week in, week out, the grind of it.
Yeah, let me just say this real quick, because I never, and I'm not saying Roman Harper's saying this, but sometimes people get on this high horse. Here's where Alabama plays their road games. Okay, they play at Oklahoma, at LSU, at Tennessee. I mean, that's pretty tough. Let's be honest. You're playing at LSU, that's very difficult. How about Georgia? We've talked about the three very difficult ones. You don't even have to look at it. At Bama, at Texas, at Ole Miss. Those are three of the best 5 teams in the league. Georgia's one of them, as well as Missouri. And Georgia's playing on the road for all of those. So, I mean, that's going to be challenging. How about LSU? LSU plays at College Station, in the Swamp, and then they play at South Carolina, which I would not say is the same as the others, but that's okay. How about the Rebels? They play in Columbia, South Carolina. They play in Baton Rouge. They also play in the Swamp. They also play at Arkansas, but whatever. I do think Texas got away with one a little bit, I will say. Now, I didn't mention Alabama playing at Wisconsin. That has nothing to do with the league. I didn't mention, that goes in the same category as this, y'all, is Texas plays at Michigan. I mean, that could be arguably the biggest game of the college football season. Texas, however, their home games, y'all, for the league are State, Georgia, Florida, and Kentucky. Their road games, they got bailed out in many ways. They play at Texas A&M, which I know is a very emotional situation for them. They play at Arkansas. That's going to be a lot trickier than people think. That's like Georgia playing at South Carolina. But their other two road games are Dallas and, they play Vandy in Nashville. That's a joke. I mean, I think we all know that. So it's not the same. Georgia's foursome of Lexington, Tuscaloosa, Austin, and Oxford are very challenging. But again, Matt, a year from today, we're going to be talking about how Texas is coming to Athens. Bama's coming to Athens. This will be it will probably be the biggest home schedule that Georgia's ever had in 2025.
Yeah, with two big road games at Auburn, at Tennessee, and
for sure.
Georgia's had a lot easier time playing in Knoxville than they have at Auburn. But this is a year where, we talked about this in the past. There's only 2, maybe 3 games a year where, there aren't 50% Georgia fans at these road games. When they play Tech in Atlanta, it's a lot of Georgia fans. Nashville, same way when they play Vanderbilt. So there's going to be some Georgia fans in Austin, and there will be some that make the trip to Tuscaloosa and Oxford because they are big games, but it's really true road environments and games where all these teams have the Georgia game circled. And when you're the number 1 program, as we talked about in plenty of videos, you're probably going to get everyone's best shot. You would expect that. So going to be tough, but really exciting too. But again, Georgia has everything they need to win those games. They've got a returning quarterback who's won big games on the road before. I think he really grew up in that second half, especially the fourth quarter at Auburn last year. So it's like they're bringing in a new quarterback starting for the first year, going to play in Austin and Tuscaloosa at night and Oxford. I don't know what time that game is. At the flex.
It's flex, so it will be either 3:30 or at night.
Yeah. It's a big game environment, right?
Yeah.
So if you're Georgia, I think you love the fact that you have Carson Beck, who decided to come back, because you're going to need him to make some big time throws in big environments on the road this year.
Yeah, I think when you combine the SEC schedule with just everything else, that's where Georgia's year just looks really daunting. Because in addition to Texas, Bama, almost all that, we have to start out with that game against Clemson, and that's a big game that you're juiced up for, and it's neutral site. You still have to play Tech and Auburn and Florida, and even if they're not close to what Georgia is right now, those are big emotional games that Kirby's going to view as almost bigger than the other ones. So there's just going to be a lot going on. It's going to be exhausting by the end of the season for this Georgia team. I think they'll be tested in ways that other years the team has not been, especially when you add there's probably going to be another extra game or two there at the end with this playoff, and it's going to last a really long time. The college coaches are going to lose a lot of sleep by the end of this. We're going to lose a lot of sleep with all these late kicks, because I imagine there's more than what's on the schedule. But it's really when you combine all of it, it's just, wow, this is going to be a championship that's really remembered for a long time if they can pull it off.
Yeah, the road slate is very challenging. It is. I do want to mention a couple other road games. Alabama at Wisconsin. That's, Florida at Florida State. Kentucky does not have a strange road game. LSU's playing in Vegas. These are the two that I wanted. There's 3 here. State plays at Arizona State, which is curious. But I don't know why Ole Miss is playing at Wake Forest. And I certainly don't know why and who decided to say it was okay for Missouri to play a road game the week after they play at Texas A&M and the week before they play Auburn and then Alabama. They're playing at UMass, which to me is very strange and odd. That would be the equivalent of South Carolina playing at East Carolina or something like that. I don't get that at all. Tennessee's playing in Charlotte. That's not that big of a deal for them to play NC State there. By the way, Georgia's hosting UMass later this year. So that's, Texas goes to Ann Arbor. A&M does not have any kind of weird ones. They play in Arlington. They do that all the time. Vanderbilt's usually the one that plays a strange road game. This time they don't play a strange one, but they do play Georgia. Well, I would say this is strange, actually. They host Virginia Tech in Nashville week 1, and then they go to Georgia State in week 3. So, yeah, everybody's looking at that one kind of strange. Tech and Georgia State play one another in week 1, I think it is. That game's in Atlanta, at Tech. But that's I would avoid those games if I were Georgia Tech, personally. I would not play Georgia State. I would not play Kennesaw. I would just not do that for a lot of different reasons, but that's me. I don't think that Georgia, trying to let them out of the gates. The reality is, they're not trying to let them out of the gates was the quote. The reality is everybody's got brutal schedules. It's just what it is, and the Dogs are going to have to get through it. Thanks for watching.